Hey there, art classes. I'm Mr. K. I'm the art teacher, and we're going to work on some artwork here today. Wish I could do it there in class with you, but we can't quite do that right now. So, as you can see, I've set up shop here in my garage, and we're going to work on a few projects along the way. I'm going to do some videos where you're going to go ahead and pause them whenever you need to do some work. Don't worry, you don't. It's fine to pause and take a moment to do what you need to do and get caught up. I'm going to go way too fast for you to just play the video all the way through and stay with me. So don't worry about pausing every once in a while to do some stuff along the way. Today we are going to do some drawing. We're going to look at the contour, the outside edge of stuff, and we're going to trace along those edges to make it look three-dimensional, like it's sticking right out at you. But it's still just going to be a flat piece of paper, but it's going to give it that illusion of some depth. And we're going to draw something that you have right there on hand at home, your hand. So let's go ahead and get started today. Here's the stuff you're going to need. Obviously, first thing, a piece of paper, and we're going to have it tall ways, what we would call portrait. This way would be landscape, this way is portrait, and we're going to try to keep it portrait. That's going to make our lives easier for what we're going to work with. The other things you're going to need, you could use a black marker, or any color marker really, nice thin marker. Could be a ballpoint pen. A pencil will work just fine as well. I'm going to use a marker today because that's going to show up on the video a little bit better. It's going to be a little darker so you can see it at home. We're also going to need a ruler. Now, I realize you're at home. You might not have a ruler right there with you. We need some sort of a nice straight edge. We're not really going to be measuring stuff with this, but to help make our lives easier, a ruler would probably be the easiest. You could also, just use a flat edge of some sort of book, one of your textbooks maybe, like your math book, or like a notepad or a sketch pad, the edge of that. Or you can make your own ruler out of, let me get this paper out of the way. You could take another piece of paper and just fold it along, over and over, and makes it nice and thick. Just get a nice crisp fold there. And this way, if we make it not too thick, that'll help you out a little bit with this project. You'll see what I mean in a moment. I got this little extra edge here. I don't really need that, so I'm just going to fold that in. And now we have our own straight edge that'll work just fine as a ruler. So we need the other thing we need, I didn't talk about, is you need your hand. So what we're going to do today is we are going to draw a picture of your hand and make it look like it's kind of three-dimensional. Now we're going to start by putting your hand down. This isn't like that old Thanksgiving thing you did when you were in like kindergarten or whatever, where you're going to make your hand into a turkey. We are going to trace our hand and we're going to trace our arm. Now, the mistake a lot of people make on this is they put their pen kind of sideways and go underneath. And when you do that, you end up with teeny tiny skinny little fingers. So what we want to do, I don't know if you can see that very well, we want it straight up and down, as straight up and down as we can get. I want my hand notice I'm kind of close to the top. I'm not all the way off the edge, but I'm not halfway down the paper either. So we want to trace all the way around as carefully as we can. I don't quite know why I started with that particular finger, but why not? As long as you get all the way around. All the way around. All the way over this finger. Now you might have a few spots where it gets a little goofed up, like I missed something here. I can go back in and redraw that. I don't have to do all with tracing. This got a little messed up here. I can smooth a few things out. And you can see my ring on there, but that's okay. So I'm going to smooth this out. This is where I started and stopped. Not a problem. Now we want to go ahead and take our ruler. And I'm just going to start at the bottom. You could start at the top if you wanted to. So I'm going to start down here at the bottom, and I'm going to make a bunch of lines going across. Now, if you actually do this on a piece of lined paper, it'll work really great because you could just trace those lines, each one. The closer together you get these lines, the cooler it looks. But I'm going to just do them kind of one ruler width apart. This way they'll be perfectly parallel. I've got the bottom of my ruler right along that edge of the bottom of the paper. You can I left it so you could see the paper sticking out a tiny little bit. Now I need to hold my ruler down. People often say, there, I'm holding my ruler. But then when you're drawing, it can move. We don't want it to move. You got to show that ruler who's boss. Hold it down, spread your fingers out a little bit, and just drag that pen this way along. And once you hit that line of the arm, stop. We want these lines to be behind. I'm going to pick it back up over here. So it looks like that line is going straight across. Now I'm going to move my ruler up so that the bottom of my ruler is right along that line, perfectly along that line. And I'm going to do the same exact thing all the way up. And I'm going to skip. Don't draw inside of your arm. All the way up here like this. The bottom part's kind of easy. The very top's easy if it misses the fingers completely. Once you get to the fingers, it's a little bit trickier. You just got to skip more often. All the way, whoops, I went inside. Yeah, it's okay if you go in just a tiny little bit like that, because we're going to be doing some lines across the fingers in a moment to kind of show that curve of the finger. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. We're not going to do it with our ruler, though. This is the only part that's going to need a ruler. Now, in here, I don't really have anything. Yeah, a little tiny bit there. You might have to get creative and figure out, is this a spot where I need a line or not? I barely had a line there, but it was still worth doing. Just as long as you don't draw inside. If you want to go away from, start on the finger and go away from it. Start there, start there and go away. Same thing here. That way you don't accidentally go in to the finger like I did on that other one. All the way across. Yeah, it misses the top of the thumb completely. That's okay. Do the same thing up here. Put it right along that bottom edge. Now, if you went from the top down, you're going to put it along that top edge. There we go, all the way across. I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world. If you want to work on it while I'm doing this, you can. You don't have to pause for this. You can kind of do it along with me on this part, because it takes forever. Just put it right there and pull away from it. It's a little easier if you're using pencil, because then you can just erase some stuff. You can go back over it with a pen later if you'd like. All the way across. Now, we need to take that ruler, don't need it for the rest of this, and we'll set that aside. I'm going to start up here at the top, and I'm going to work my way down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace along. It's almost like, if you, here, I don't know if you can see it. I've got these lights set up on, can you see the shadow that's behind my finger on the paper is straight across? But the shadow that is on top of my finger is curved. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it look like it's curving. We're not going to draw in the fingernails and the little wrinkles on the back of your knuckles. We're going to leave that part plain, but we're going to draw in these lines. So the taller that I make these, the higher up that it goes, the less flat my finger looks. Now this one's tricky, it's right on the tip. And this one doesn't touch it at all. So now I'm going to go down to this line. Now if it starts here, this is what would have been a line straight through. We're not going to try to go to some other place. we're going to go from here. I'm going to bring it like a little rainbow on top of the finger, just like that. I'm going to do that for every finger. Just kind of watch how it goes. There we go. Now it's starting to look as though it's curving along. Oops, I forgot this guy over here. Going up and coming down. Now if you make it kind of flat like this, it'll look like your fingers are about that thick. So don't be afraid to go up and come back down like a big rainbow. And meet right up with that other line on the other side, like it would, like there's an invisible line that goes straight across, except we're just going to take that invisible line and push it up. Just like that, wherever you see it. Now it gets a little trickier when we get into this area. The fingers are easy, simple. There's a difference between simple and easy. Simple means there's not that many steps. Easy means anybody could do it without thinking. You still have to think. This is a little tricky. The pinky and the thumb can get a little tricky too because they're not straight up and down like this. So we're going to have it be almost like a Nike logo that's upside down over to that line. Now, this is probably the trickiest part, right underneath of where the fingers are, but not all the way to the back of the hand yet. Because if you look down in here on your hand, there's little parts, whoops, I drew on my hand. There's little parts that dip down and come up. We're not gonna get all of these little ridges on the back of your hand where the ligaments are, but if we just do a little bit up and then think, okay, now in between the fingers right here, it's gonna dip down and it's gonna come back up again. It's that little dent in here in between the fingers where it goes down on your hand, go down with the line, and then curve it back up, back down. I'm gonna bring it from over here and curve it up to that part. Now it looks like it's going straight across. Oh, but we need our thumb still. There's that Nike logo we were talking about. All the way over and meet up with that line right there. Now the back of your hand, oh, we get into this part. This is a little tricky. You gotta kind of, and this is where if maybe you use a pen, even if you were starting with a pen, you might want to use pencil on this really lightly first so you can erase. I'm gonna go up here. Now I can just kind of go straight across. Let's do this one where we go up. It's going to dip in for the part of your thumb. And then it's going to go up to the back of your hand. So if it's going up to a high part, we want to come up here. There we go. I made that line a little thick, but that's okay. Do the same thing here. Now it's getting easier again because it's just kind of like one shape. Do the same for a wrist. And this is just like a great big finger at this point. And there we go, and that's the whole thing. Now, what I was saying earlier, if you went through and added extra lines in between. I've got this ruler with a little hole in it. I can see through it. So I could add some extra lines in the middle and do the same thing going in between those. And the more lines you have, the more three-dimensional it's going to look. So here it is. Here's our finished hand. We got all these extra lines in here. And instead of having to go back and redraw lines, one thing you can do is if you're folding up your own ruler, make it a little skinnier. Or, like I said, use the lined those lined papers that you would usually write on. Use one of those. Those lines are about 1/4 inch apart. It'll work out perfectly. You can just, ignore the lines inside your hand and it should work just fine. All right, so that's it for this lesson. Hope that went well for you. Just have fun with it. Try it again. Just play around, test out different things. You don't have to use your hand. You could use a different object or whatever you want to trace, whatever you want to draw on there. Just going back over those lines is a great way to give something some dimension and some depth so it looks like it's coming off of the paper for you. And hope that went well, and I will see you again next time. Take care.